by what we did here. Today I'll record this, and I do have that recording for any of you that missed the lectures last week on Chapter 4. Those recordings are posted up there just like we did them in class. So the first thing I want to do today is I did work with Lucidchart this morning so that if we want to flow chart some of these, we can. And I know I didn't get all the tests graded yet, but we did cover it, so you kind of know whether you got it right or wrong or what. But I've graded some of them. And remember, if you don't like your grade, there's going to be extra credit stuff, plus your last test can replace a test too. And I'm sure by then you'll have it, the loops under control. Odessa, I didn't find your folder. Or no, that's Chelsea. Is Odessa in here? Odessa Miller. That's why. Okay, I think she isn't coming to class. I was looking at you, Chelsea, thinking you were. Okay, so I had you all do number 2, but then I don't think we ever did number 3 in class, right? On page 152. I want to work these easy ones and see how we can do with those. So we're going to look at we're going to actually do the pseudocode in the flowchart and then line for line JavaScripted, okay? And I know it's an easy one, but I want to get step by step some of you that are still a little bit confused on how do I JavaScript this particular line of code, okay? Okay, so we're going to start with number 3, design the logic for a program that outputs every number from 0 through 8. So if you did number 2, you only had to pseudocode or flowchart it. I didn't require you to JavaScript it. So if you got that one, then we should be able to start from that one, and then we're just going to add inside the loop, calculating the square and the cube of that number. So I'm going to actually open Lucidchart so I can do on my computer flowchart and pseudocode as if you were in Visio. I'm going to do it here because I haven't ever done that either in class, actually flowcharted, I don't think. Some of you guys that have a Mac are using Lucidchart, I think. Okay. I started one in here this morning. I'll just open it. Oh, no, it didn't let me. Okay. Well, it's kind of going to go full screen here. Okay, so if I was flowcharting this one, the first thing I want to do is drag a start button out here. Oops, should have highlighted there. Don't want terse start nator. It's not. Start. Let me make my text a little bigger so you guys at the back can see, which means I may have to make my shapes a little bigger too, but that'll be all right. Okay, can y'all see it back there, everybody? All right, so this is our start. First thing we have to do is do what? Right, tell me, what do we have to do next? Declare a variable. And we only need what? One variable, right? On this particular problem. So, and in here, I'm going to pull this up to the, oops, if I can get it to let me, look what I did. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'll say num, and I'll just call it number. And your variable name, of course, could be anything that you wanted. And here to make it go all the way, there it is. And then I'll push it over a little bit. That's pretty good. Okay, now it didn't leave my text big. I guess I need to change it at the beginning. Okay, so then I just here can go from here down. Oops, Have to have it lined up though, or it won't go down. Now it should. Come on. No, not that way. Do I ever have that trouble? Okay, I don't know why it put a star, but it did. Oh, that's because it's 2 arrows. Come on. I'm going to delete this. Oh, well, I'll just leave it there for now because I don't want to mess with it anymore. Okay, so there's number. What do we do next? What do we need next? What kind of box?
Decision.
Decision, okay, because we're going to do like a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the decision is the diamond shape. And so what's my decision here? What do I say? While, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
While number is what?
Less than or equal to 8.
Yeah, I can either say less than or equal to 8, or I could have said less than 9, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, let me pull it up. So on this, that's different than the actual if then else. You remember if we do an if then else, then we've got 2 branches coming out here and here. So on a while loop, it makes more sense to go, when you drop out, you're going to have something here. But as long as this is true, what do we want to do? What kind of a box? Process, good. Process box will come over here because it's going to, oh, actually, no, not yet. This is going to be the second one. What do we want to do while number is less than or equal to? And my number's cut off. What do we want to do? Output the number. So what kind of shape do I use?
Parallelogram.
Parallelogram, because input and output's a parallelogram. So I am going to use this one, but I'm going to use it next. Okay, so I'll move it down there. So I need a parallelogram. Let's just put it here. I'll connect mine in a minute. So then we would say output number, right? Is anybody not following what we're doing? Anybody have a question about what we did so far? Okay, so what has to be at the bottom of the loop every time?
End while?
What's that?
An end while?
Well, before the end while, what do we have to do at the bottom of every loop to keep it from being infinite? You have to add the, right, change the number. So you have to increment the number, right? Because if we don't, number up here,
Yeah, we can crash our computer.
right. And here would be a good thing to do is to initialize it, and you can do it in a separate step. Why is that not letting me type in there? Come on. Oh, there it is. I think. Okay. Equal 0, and now I'm going to have to make it bigger.
I think you got rid of the text.
I did because I highlighted it, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not doing too good with this. Okay, let's go num. Oops, didn't do it there either. What's going on? Num number equals 0. Because we want to initialize it, right? We want to be sure. So now I'm going to have to move all this stuff down to make it work. I didn't want it there. That's the one that I can delete now. Let me move it down since I made it so big is what the problem is. Still going to go crooked, isn't it? Huh, there we go. Finally got it. But now my zero's not showing up there. I think I'll have to make that text a little smaller. It's going to give me trouble this whole time. All right, so we're going to do it in pseudocode too. I can do that a lot easier. Output number. So these are the things that we had to know about a loop. You have to be able to go to, see if I can get the shape right. Okay, come on. There. I didn't know it would have been like that. Okay, so then this one's going to go down here. So how can I increment? What do I need to increment? Do I have a separate counter in this problem?
No.
No. All I'm using is number, right? So what do I increment? Good. Number equals number plus 1. Okay, so now what was another way that I could increment number? Does anybody know? What's that? Step 1, that's in a for loop. That is one way we did it in a for loop, but what was the shortcut way?
Num plus plus.
Very good. I could say number plus plus, and it will increment number by 1 without having to write number, and that should be an equal sign, equals number plus 1.
It's an equal sign, it's just not showing up.
Oh yeah, it is an equal sign. Okay, so there's 2 ways to do it, and that, if it makes more sense to you until you learn the shortcut, you can always say number equals number plus 1. That's perfectly fine. In JavaScript, you'll see number plus plus real often, and when you start coding a lot, that's what they'll use. But this is always correct. It will always give you the right answer. Okay, and then what do I need to do next? What do I do next? I show going back up to, let's see if I can get it to do that. Huh, look how it does it. Let's see, this one's going to be hard to do that too. It looks like, because it needs to go from there. No, I don't want that one moving. Oh, okay. I should have practiced all the way out. I don't ever use this flowchart stuff. Okay, so now this one should be connecting right here, but I don't know if I can get it to do that. Let me see, I might can. Nope, that's got to come. Oh, deleted my whole box, huh?
If you change the arrow to, like, click on the arrow.
This one?
Yeah. Up at the top, there's three ways to make the arrow do it that one, and then it makes it straight, like it makes it to where.
Oh, all right. Now will it let me? Okay, it'll do that, but then will it let me turn?
You start over. That's because you stopped the arrow.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I have to go there. Oops.
Just get it to that point, or
wait a minute.
get it to that point, and then click the arrow thing, and then it'll work.
Now I'm not even in the arrow. Okay, this arrow thing. So get it to here.
Get it to whatever point you want to go to first.
Oh, all the way over here?
Yeah, yes. Do it, and then now click on the arrow.
This, like that?
And then click that. And it,
oh, hey, that's pretty cool. Thank you. All right, so there's one more thing that we need to do then. We have to do, if it's not at the, or when it gets to the end, cut off my number. There it is. Okay, so here we have to put, it's just an end, right? So that would be another terminator we drag over here. Oops. And put end in there. Okay. No. Okay. So that is our basic, and I'm not going to draw any more flowcharts. But here is the, then let me bring out a text box for us to pseudocode it. That's a lot easier anyway. Except for Amelia likes. You like flowcharts, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to go inside here, go up to the top and left, and increase my font. And so this would say start, and then I could put my, put my comment, would, if I wanted to, declaration, which there's really only one this time. Oh, I forget this thing goes crazy. Shift enter, and it would be number equals 0, then while number is less than or equal to 8, and oh, okay, let me get this to get a little bit bigger here. There we go. While number is less than or equal to 8, I want to output number and then end while and then end, right? So that's the pseudocode and the flowchart. Did anybody put this in JavaScript? Anybody?
You're missing the number +1.
Oh, thank you. That's one of the common mistakes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is to leave off the increment. So we would have been, okay, anything else anybody sees? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pseudocode and we're going to match it to every line of JavaScript code. Okay, so I'm going, first of all, I got to pull this down to a window so I can, oh, no, didn't want that to happen. Come on. Okay. Move this window over. Open up Text Wrangler. And what was one that we had recently? Open. That's HTML for it. I don't see this. Oh, there's the starter. Okay, there's the starter. All right, so my first line of code, I can put the declarations if I want to. What's my declaration for this? Var. And if I go exactly by my pseudocode, what did I name my variable? Number. Oops. And what else did I do to number?
0.
Equals 0, so I initialized it. Now, that you can initialize it right before you go into the loop if you want. You don't have to initialize it in your declarations. Does everybody understand what I mean by initialize? You have to put something in number, right? If you have any questions, just ask, okay? So this matches the line of code right here, right? Okay, so now the while loop. So we would say while, and the way you do it in JavaScript, you have to put it in parentheses just like you do the if then else. While number is less than or equal to 8. And then we start with our curly brace, and some started up here, some started here. Curly brace, and inside the curly brace we have 2 statements. So let's look at it again. So here, oh, okay, let's see. I should be able to view. Thought I tried this before and I had trouble finding where the preference is. Let's see. Appearance. It should be here. Yeah, right here. Oh, that's making it smaller for some reason. Oh, I see. Oh, I don't know if I make it that big, but we'll try. Let me see. Maybe where I can't see anything on my screen. Oh, it didn't actually. Oh, it made that part bigger and not the. Okay. This is. I thought that was the display font, but that's in that appearance. Editing, maybe it's here. Okay, there we go. Okay, but that's going to be so big. Let me see if I can get it to. No, that's not going to do it. I don't know. Oh, there it is. Okay, so where did my one go that we started?
Close it and click the don't
Oh, I closed it? Okay. And I never saved it. So, oh, well, we'll just type it in again. I guess, because I never saved it, right? Okay. It's going to be so large, I'm not sure if I can get it all on here. Var equal, oops, var number equals 0. And then while number is less than or equal to 8. Oops, 8. We did curly brace. Okay, so next we did why. Okay, so the next line of code was this one, and it looks, oops, it looks just like, this code looks just like my JavaScript, except I had to put parentheses in there, right? And then to actually start my while loop, I have a curly brace, just like I do on an if-else, okay? So I have a curly brace, so everything inside the curly brace would be this line and this line. So how do I write output number in JavaScript? Right, good. Document dot write line, and then in parentheses I can just simply put number. It didn't tell me to put any kind of output. Semicolon. All right, so then what's the next line of code? Number plus plus. So actually in JavaScript it's just like that. Number plus plus, or I can put number equals number plus 1. Okay, I can do it either way. All right, now the next thing, I have to end my while loop. Do I type in end while? No. That's what a lot of people had problems with the if then else, is they would combine the pseudocode, which I understand. They'd put end if, and the closing curly brace is the end if. And so the closing curly brace is actually the end while. So that's the end, and that's all you actually have to do, because there's not anything after that we print out. So that should match, except that we did not put like anything for this end. But actually what that end is, this is a cancel the script, cancel head, cancel body. All of that's actually the stop. All right, so any questions about that code right there? Anybody has? Okay, so now we want to see if it runs, right? Okay, so let me save this one. File, save as, and I'm going to put it in. I'll start these out on Google Drive, and then I'll put them out there for you guys. Let's see. I started a chapter, oh, not that class. I started a chapter for examples. There they are. And that's what this one is. Number, oh no, this is number 1, isn't it? Yeah, number 1. So we're going to see if this one runs. So we'll go here and open with, let's see, I'll do Safari. There's Safari. There it is. Printed it right out. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's what we wanted, right? Anybody have any questions about that? That loop did what it was supposed to do and it ended when it was supposed to. So now we know our pseudocode logic was correct because we did it in JavaScript too. All right, so now instead of typing this over, my next problem says design the logic for a program that outputs every number from 0 through 8 along with its square and cube. So now if I look over at my pseudocode here, what do I need to change?
You need to add 2 more variables.
2 more variables. Okay, so let's see if I can get this to let me do that. Oh yeah, I remember. Enter key in here doesn't work right. In fact, I think what I'm going to do instead of switching back and forth, I'm going to copy this into Text Wrangler and that will be a little easier. File, new text document. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is add 2 more variables. Let's just call this one square. And just for the sake of making sure there's nothing in that memory location in the variable, I'm going to go ahead and initialize it to 0. It's not a count of any kind, but I want to be sure that I'm not putting something on top of something else. So it's called garbage out there in memory address. So you want to be sure there's nothing there. So just initialize it for safety's sake. Cube equals 0. And so now, where do my additional process statements go?
After the output number and before number plus plus.
Okay, does everybody understand what we're doing? So we're doing, what are we going to calculate? Square and the cube, right? So I'm going to still output, does it say to go ahead and output number or just?
Yeah, it does say
Outputs every number and then outputs the square and the root. Okay, so here I would say square equals number times number, right? Yes.
Can you use the little chevron and use as the exponent, or does it not like that?
Well, in pseudocode you could do that, and you talk about in JavaScript.
Yeah.
Did you try it?
No, I didn't.
There is a way to do that, and there is a little symbol that you have to use.
Yeah, I have that on my computer. It's like Shift 6.
Shift 6. But in what makes more sense right now is we're just going to say number times number. But
okay.
Yes, you can do that. And it would be correct in your pseudocode too. So cube would equal number times number times number, right? Or to the 3rd power, which is what Amelia was asking.
Yeah, because that's less
right. Okay, so, I'm putting the semicolons, I really don't have to, this is pseudocode. So does anything else change in this problem?
We have to output the square and the cube.
Okay, we have to output the square and the cube. So up here, you'd say output number, output square. Actually, I need to change the output to after, right? So I'm going to say Command X. The first time it won't have anything except for in number. Square, comma, cube. All right, anybody else see anything that we need to do? Think that'll do it? Okay, so now I need to go over, I'm going to say File, Save As, this would be number to text. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my number 1 HTML, and now I need to add those same two variables. So if I look at my code, I could actually just copy this and change those vars, right? So I could go here, change those to var, and then it exactly matches my pseudocode, right? So do I need to change this, the while? Do I need to change it?
No.
No? No? So I need to have this at these two statements at the bottom, right? So I need to add a couple of lines of code here. So let's look at my pseudocode again, make sure I can match it. So I'm just going to take these two lines of code and copy them into there, but then I have to know how to change them, right? So now I go back, Command V. Now, what needs to change? Does anything need to change in this line or this line? No, the pseudocode transferred straight across in the process statements. Then I have document.writeLine, but I need to put comma, square, if I don't tell what it is, comma, cube. So they'll just print all together. Yes.
This is more of an appearance thing. Would it be a good idea to add a line break after each document.writeLine?
Right, that would be very good to do. So if we want to do that here, we can actually put it here and say,
Because I did JavaScript for 7A and I thought if I did this on one line, it'll get way too confusing.
yeah, it will. Break. That's one way. I'm not sure if that's going to read it that way. I'll see if it will. And then increment. Okay, so let's see if this works. I'm going to save it as number 2. Save as number 2. Okay, so I'm going to go here to there and open with Safari. What did it do? Oh yeah, it printed them. 0, 0, 0, but didn't put a space between each one. There's number, square, cube for 0, number, square, cube for 1. There's for 2, 4, 8, 3, 9, 27, 4, 16, 64, 5, 25, 125. So I maybe want to put a space in between each one, right? But you see that the logic did work, right? And all we did was correct it or changed that from 1. Now, I need y'all to tell me if you don't get this, because this is a basic one. Click.
On the pseudocode,
Uh-huh.
is there nowhere that we put like input number?
Well, no, but that's a good question. This is the first problem that we've ever had that we didn't do input, right? The reason being, and I meant to go over that, I'm glad you brought that up, because it tells us in the problem that that we're just going to output number. It doesn't ever tell us to ask the user for a number. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so, but we could change that problem around if the problem said, ask for a number and then increment it by 1. So our while loop and everything would change, right? So we'll have some like that over in the paragraph type problems on page 153. The number 7 was what I was calling a paragraph type problem.
Can you scroll your page over to the side?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
All that break was caused us to go to a new line, but I really need to do something here to space between those. We'll do that on the next problem.
Is that all I have to do? Yeah.
Where's that? Right here, BR space slash the slash under the question mark, backward slash.
They don't read white space though, do they?
What's that?
'Cause I
No,
just did,
no, it
I
won't.
did it without the space.
No, you have to, oh, yes, you have, the reason I put the space in here is because in HTML, whenever you, I'm a HTML coder, so for XHTML to validate, there has to be a space before the ending, because on an HTML break tag, it doesn't have a closing tag. Y'all don't want to know all of that, I'll tell you that. That's to be, it'll work without the space in there is what I'm saying. It'll work. It'll even work without the slash. But to be compliant with the W3C, if you take HTML, you'll have to put that in there. Did you have another question, Ben? Can you? Yeah. Can you see it? Is that what you're talking about? Okay. Anybody else on this problem? You got it, right? So loops, are they so hard?
No.
Not too bad. If it's a combination of sequential structure and if statement, right? Only that's just thought of as a while loop, as a while. And then we haven't done a for in JavaScript, but it's even really easier, but it's mostly used for counter-controlled loops. So it would work for this one. Does anybody want to take a guess how I would change this to a for loop? How would I change this to a for loop if I wanted to?
Let's see.
I would say for number, what did it tell us? For number equal to 0, which it's already set to 0. I think you initialize it, and then you have to increment it, and then test it at the end. Don't they have a for loop example?
Yeah, page 136.
130.
Figure 413.
136. 4, 2, okay, 2, 8. We want to say for number equal 0, 2, 8, which that's not going to say, okay, I've got to find one that's in JavaScript. For number equal 8.
It's like the one on the bottom right is for Java, C++, and C#. Does that work for JavaScript too?
Yes, for count equals 0, semicolon, as long as number, and ours is number, as long as number is less than or equal to 8, semicolon, and increment number. So that means that we would take the increment out of, oh, actually there's not a semicolon after that one. Okay, so then if this would work, we would take this out. We would not have to increment at the bottom. This is a counter control loop. Let's see if it works. File, I'm going to say save as. Yes, did you see something wrong?
Do we have to put the statement after the for, does that have to go in parentheses?
No. Because it would be just like that one, C++, C#.
Okay.
So you don't. Save. Number 2, 4. Let's see if it works. Didn't work. So there's something wrong with the for loop. I don't think it's in parentheses, but
I think
there's
I pulled
something.
up the for loop on the.
And it did have it, the whole thing in parentheses? I haven't done one in the for. It does?
In Dreamweaver, the parentheses are the only things that take out any syntax error.
Okay, the parentheses go here to. Okay, so let's see, file.
Yeah, I pulled it up on the W3 website. It has to be in the
In the parentheses. Okay, open with Safari. Yep, there it is. That's all it took. So see, you can do the same thing with a for loop or a while loop. And if it's counter controlled, normally you do the for loop. But if it's sentinel value, which we're going to do some like that too, then the while loop is the way that you want to do it. Okay, so number Number 4, design the logic for a program that outputs. Let's see, I want to be sure that we're going to have time for 7A. So what I wanted you guys to do, I want to see, pick, like you can work with somebody if you want to, or you can do it on your own. And we're going to work like 10 minutes on it, and then I'm going to go to 7A, and we're going to do it together. But I want y'all to each one try to do number 6 on your own. Have 10 minutes, whatever you can get done, and then we'll do it together. And if you have questions, I'll come. This is why I want to do it while I'm here to help you.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
I don't know why, but neither one of them will run.
Is that the problem that we just did?
Oh, it's the other one. I have that one too, but it won't run either. I can't even get this simple.
Okay. Those should have semicolons at the end.
Oh,
That should have stopped.
I know this one has it too. Even this little one.
Won't run. Do you have one? Okay, do you have one that does run? Oh, that's just supposed to say num plus plus.
Yeah.
You know, you take
Oh,
the
you
num
don't have to
equals.
have that.
No, you don't have the num equals. Here it is.
Oh, okay. Whenever you prompt someone for input, is it prompt colon parentheses or is it just prompt?
Parentheses, but you have to put the variable name. Variable equals.
Oh, okay.
That's what it is. Y'all can work together. You don't have to be quiet. If you're stumped, see if somebody else got it.
I got it.
You got it?
Mhm.
Okay. So you only have to do the pseudocode or the, just so you get the logic.
I actually just programmed it and got it to run.
Got it to run? Okay. Give y'all a couple more minutes. If you got the pseudocode or the JavaScript, whatever you have, even we're going to do it here in class. This is what, for everybody that's here today, if you submit it in your Chapter 4 folder, you can even wait till we finish it, you get 5 points added to that last test. Okay, those of you that made the full 60 points, you'll get 65. Okay, so just put it in there, whatever you have, and then if you want to wait till we go over it right now, you can. Who thinks they have it? I know Amelia said. Anybody else think they have it? The logic? No? Come on, y'all have just been shy, right? Everybody's got it, right? It's just a while loop. There's only one thing different from the last one we did, is the way the number is output. Because you have to get a number from a user, and what's going to trigger the end of the while loop?
Your input.
Your input. What does it say would end? Display the sum of every number from 1 through the entered number. So whatever the entered number is, that's going to be the test for the while loop. So the while loop's going to say while whatever your number is less than number, or your counter is less than the entered number, right? Okay, so what you have, let's do pseudocode one line at a time first so that we can put it in JavaScript. So start declarations. Okay, so what do we have? We have 1 is going to be the variable that's the user entered number, right? We have to have a variable name for that. So when we prompt, it has to go into a variable name, right? Okay, so we'll just call it number. That's what we want them to enter. And we'll set it equal to 0. Now, do we need any other variables?
As I had 2 other variables, the counter variable and one for the actual process.
Total, the sum, right?
Mhm.
Does that make sense, everybody? So we've got to have a sum. Num sum equals 0. Oops. Then, yes?
Never mind, that's the input number.
Okay, and actually I'm putting semicolons and I don't need to. It's the pseudocode, but habit, I guess. Okay, so this one is the counter, so let's just call it CTR for counter is equal to 0, or I could just say
Yeah.
count.
It's actually equal to 1. It says display every number from 1 through the entered number.
Very good. From 1, so it needs to start with 1. Okay, so our while loop, if we initialize the counter there to 1, then I don't have to do it right before the loop, right? So, Amelia, what will my while loop look like?
Well, count is less than or equal to number.
Counter is less than or equal to number. Okay, so while counter is less than or equal to number, what am I going to do?
Total equals total plus count.
The sum equals, we called it sum, equals sum plus counter. And then
Counter plus plus.
counter plus plus. Don't I have to output?
Not
Until you
and while then output.
At the very end, because it only wants the sum, right? Okay, so now I go end while, if I'm in pseudocode, and then that's where my just output sum, right? Oh, let's be on another line. Output sum and end. Now, who does not have any idea how we got to that? You don't have to raise your hand. Just tell me tell me what you don't understand. Somebody tell me what you don't understand. Where did you get stopped at? Get stumped at? So this one is going to take a prompt in order. Oh, and we left that off.
Yeah.
Where's the prompt go?
And before the loop.
Before the loop. Good. So it'd say input number, right? Okay, so we left the prompt off. So we have our declarations in JavaScript, our prompt, and then our while loop. We know how to code that in JavaScript, right? So I'll go ahead and put this in JavaScript, but before I do, we got about 10 minutes. I want to be sure we get 7A because I want you to do 7B for Thursday.
I've already uploaded my
Number
code.
5, okay. This number 6, all you have to upload to get the 5 points is either the pseudocode or you can go ahead and JavaScript it. But if I can do that because I can just put the correct response for 7A because I haven't graded you all, so I'll put it out there in Evernote. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to copy this to inside, like say this one, and name it file, save as number 6. Oops. Number 6. And so now I need to go here. Oops. Command V. Okay, so now I'm just going to change every line of pseudocode to JavaScript, okay? So that should make it pretty straightforward. So here we'll do var num equals 0, var sum, var counter. Then this will be, what does the input change to?
Prompt.
E- number equals, right, prompt. And we're prompting for, please enter a number. Oops, I didn't leave room for it, right. Comma 0. Okay, and then while counter, so I put parentheses, is less than or equal to number. And I'm going to start my curly brace. But then this should be okay, except that I need a semicolon at the end. And I semicolon here. Okay, and instead of the end while, what do I replace it with?
Closing brace.
Closing brace, right? And then instead of output, document dot write line, semicolon, and mine is sum. That's all I have to output. Okay, so I'm going to save it and see if I can run it. Please enter a number. Let's say enter 5. Okay, my sum is 15. Okay. All right, so let me we got about 5 minutes. Let me open up from the solution 7A, and then for you to be able to do 7B, then I have to show you. Okay, where did it go? Word. Okay, 7A was Honest Ralph's Used Car Company allows customers to purchase cars over a 24-month period by making 24 equal statements. Equal payments and charging no interest. Design an application that gets customer data, including an account number, customer name, and purchase price. Output the account number and name, then output the customer's projected balance each month for the next 24 months after the payment is made. Okay, so let me find the view here so I can get it a little bigger. I think it already is in draft. There we go. All right, so if we were flow charting this, we had declarations, account number, balance due, month is going to keep track of what month you're on. Payment amount's going to keep track of the payment amount, and then there's the customer name. Now, if we're in JavaScript, which I didn't require you to do JavaScript, it would say var still on customer name. Output, enter an account number. Now, see, we don't usually put this in our flowchart or pseudocode because all that is asking the question. So it's really part of the prompt. So it's really part of the input, but the way they coded it,
That's
they
what
call
I thought.
it's like an echo. It's called an echo output is what it's called.
I'm like, we do that in the prompt. Can we just stick that? If we have to, can we stick it in with the inputs?
You can put it right here, but you don't actually have to include that in your flowchart or pseudocode. Just this is what's important. Input account number, input customer name and balance due, and then out and customer name. Why is it? Oh, it's going ahead. Okay, so what they did on this one is they went ahead and did that part of the output at the very beginning because every customer, that'll be the first thing you do is output account number, customer name. Then you do your processing statement of payment amount equals balance due divided by 24. So that's how much your payment amount's going to be every month.
I already put that in the loop process on my flowchart.
Okay, you put it down in the loop. Well, then you would calculate it every time.
Well, what I did is just price divided by 24 in the loop. So balance equals balance minus price divided by 24.
Okay, did anybody else do it different to you than that? Because this is, okay, what this does is it calculates it before and sets month equal to 1. So then as long as month is less than or equal to 24, and what you're saying is you put that here
Yeah,
in this process statement as one statement.
just one less variable.
Yeah, okay, so here we have balance due equals balance due minus payment amount. Because balance due was input up at the top. And so if we say balance due minus payment amount, that's going to give you the first month. So you would say print month and balance due for that month. Then increment month by 1. So you're on month 2. You go back up to the top. Balance due equals balance due times payment amount. So I'll put this pseudocode here into, and the flowchart into the Evernote. And so then your job for next time, for Thursday, is to modify the car payment application so it executes continuously for any number of customers until a sentinel value is supplied for the account number. What does it mean by sentinel value? Anybody know?
That was on the quiz.
Stops it. Good. It's a value that you tell the user to enter when you're asking them for the prompt, when you're asking them to enter customer name, balance due, payment amount. You would say enter 999 or quit to quit. Okay? Usually you do that at account number or customer name, one of those. Just whichever one you want to test in your loop. Does it tell you what to test? Yes, until a sentinel value is supplied for the account number. So when you prompt them for the account number, you would say, enter a customer account number or 999 to quit. Okay? So then they would know, and whatever you make your sentinel value, that has to be your comparison in your while loop. So over here, and you only are required to do one pseudocode, flowchart, or JavaScript. If you want to do both and make the JavaScript work, that's great. I just know that some of you were just trying to get the logic down here. So let's do that first. It's a nested loop, right? So what we did for 7A is going to be the inside the process step of the outer loop is what you're going to create. 7B is the outer loop, right? Because you want to do this in 7A for every customer. So the outer loop, you're going to have another decision out here, and this is like your process step. I think I find the first example of that. It should have a flow chart and a pseudocode. Let me see. Was it on, should have been at the end, I thought. Should be 2 whiles somewhere. I know we went over that, but let's see. Can't find it right off. Here's one. Okay, on page 134, and it is an example of a nested while. Oh, and the quiz. I think the little quiz thing we did, was that nested?
Yeah.
I think that was the most simple one. The little one where, yes, on page 124 was the first nested loop. Okay, so that's an example of what your flowchart or pseudocode, and 7A goes in that nested part. It's already done for you. You still put all your declarations up at the top, but the actual process of the loop, you can just copy and paste it right into there. Okay? All right, we'll go over that one on Thursday.